Hi, my name's Kathryn, and I have just been through quite a horrible experience of an online romance scam where I was approached by somebody via email who claimed to be a man and who sent me all kinds of emails with lots of details about his life, lots of writing about his feelings and his hopes for a relationship and what he wanted out of a loving relationship with a soulmate. And I unfortunately was drawn in. And I think one of the things that we can take away from this experience is that the scammers, because that's what it ended up being in the end, I discovered, thankfully, before I'd sent money or anything else, I realized it was a scam. The scammers will play with your emotions. So they know to get in early with lots of deep talk about things that most human beings really want in relationships. And that's how they get you, because it will kind of tug on your heartstrings and you'll start believing this person has written these long emails, that they're spending a lot of time, that they really care. And then the other very clever thing that they do is they then send photographs, and they've got photographs of, in my case, a Brazilian doctor who is very good looking, but not only that, he has a very open, honest, sweet face that I guess anybody would look at that and go, that's just a beautiful person who looks so trustworthy. And they've actually stolen this guy's identity, and it's all over the internet, as I discovered afterwards. His photographs were stolen years ago, and scammers regularly use them because he's got one of those faces that just convinces people this is the person who's emailing them, and he looks so lovely that it instantly creates that trust and that bond. Or also, you imagine when you're writing back, you imagine you're writing back to that person who doesn't actually exist. What happened in my case is I had a strong sense of intuition that this just wasn't right. There was something wrong about it, just the way that sometimes the emails sounded like they're written by a slightly different person. Sometimes they had quite good punctuation and spelling. Other times they were quite badly written, rushed. Usually they don't answer your questions. So in a normal relationship, if you're meeting someone and writing to them, you'd write back and forth and you'd ask questions, they'd answer, then they might ask you questions and you'd answer. And I was asking questions and they weren't really answering them. They were they'd answer one or two of them, but then they'd rush in with this whole long story, you know, about, obviously I thought it was the guy that I was talking to, that he would write this whole long story about his life and what he loved and what he did when he was a child, and how he was so glad to have somebody finally to share it with. And that way, the detail of it kind of overwhelmed me. You know, it overwhelmed me to the sense where they sent emails like this once or twice a day. And so they were speaking in the emails of things that, like I said, lots of human beings would want in relationships. And possibly they'd looked into my profile as well and included some things that I love, like I love animals. And this guy claimed to love animals and talked about all the animals that he used to bring up when he was a child with his father on the farm, etc., etc. And when I eventually realized after a few days of these emails back and forth, and then some talk of that we were going to have a WhatsApp call, which sort of somehow never materialized. There was always some reason why it couldn't, and now I know why. I eventually discovered it was actually a scam, and that this is all over the internet, and this guy's photos that they're using to be this pretend Romeo is all over the internet. And at first I was absolutely devastated because I thought this was a real person, and I thought that we were genuinely corresponding, and that there was a very real, because we were corresponding with quite deep, detailed emails, that there was a genuine chance this could be a real something. This could be a real relationship. This could be my soulmate that I was corresponding with. And despite that little voice in the background that kept going, but it's just not, things were just not matching up. Sometimes there were actually factual mismatches in the emails. They would say in one email he was divorced from his wife, and then another one just randomly his late wife, but they sort of explained it away by saying that he was German and then he learned English later. And so of course I explained it away in the sense that as a human being, you're not going to nitpick every word that somebody else writes when you're starting to get to know someone, are you? So I kind of explained it away. Oh, maybe, because he's writing in a hurry or whatever, he's used the wrong word because he's not first language English originally, and so on. And so, of course, at first I was absolutely devastated. And then I eventually realized that there are a lot of lessons in this. And the most obvious lesson that you probably thinking in your head is don't trust anybody, be careful on the internet. But that's, yes, obviously that's important, but that's not really, that wasn't really my takeaway. My takeaway is, yes, obviously be careful, but my main weapon against that, and everyone's main weapon against that, is use your intuition. And I didn't listen to my intuition because I so badly wanted that love relationship with that perfect person. So I set aside that little voice that was getting louder and louder, saying, this is wrong, there's something wrong, things are not matching up. This person doesn't sound like, they're communicating in the same way. They're putting you off having calls. There were just things, and possibly just a kind of a negative energy about the whole thing. I don't know. I was picking up something, but I was trying to quieten it because I so badly wanted that emotional connection. And so listen to your intuition. And the other message that for me was quite a personal message, and this might be counterintuitive, was that I learned through this. So it was almost like a practice session, as terrible, as horrible as that sounds. It was almost like a practice session because my first response was I didn't really want to open up to this person. And then I had to go and look at myself really deep and think to myself, I was afraid. I realized that I was afraid to open up to somebody, and that if I wanted a real relationship with somebody, and if I wanted a relationship that was really, really different and more beautiful and better than any relationship I've ever had, that I would be prepared to, that I had to be prepared to act differently, to be differently, to think differently about it. Now, it didn't work out in this case, but it certainly has made me think more about how I need to be, how I need to get myself ready, so that I can give more, so that I can be more open and trusting when I actually meet that genuine, real person and have a true, genuine, lovely relationship with them. So I feel like, as devastating as it was at the time, I feel like there is a silver lining. I feel like this was a message from the universe to me and to you if you're watching, you know, and that is use your intuition, because it's a very, very accurate tool that you have at your disposal. And get real and clear about what you actually do want in relationships and you don't want, and how you want to feel when you're corresponding with someone or meeting them or talking to them. How do you want to feel? How do you feel? Is it good? Does it flow easily? Is it lovely? Or are there some niggling things? Are there some red flags there that, you know, if you're really, really deeply honest about those, then that's not the right person for you. So I just wanted to leave you with that, and say, do be careful out there. But at the same time, there are things that you can do to protect yourself and some deep inner work you can do so that you're ready when you are approached by somebody who is potentially your soulmate.